Warning! The following podcast contains strong language which some listeners may find offensive. If you do,
Up yours! That's only if you don't listen to the podcast. Otherwise, not up yours.
Hello, everybody. Before we get into today's exciting Match of the Year podcast, a serious talk with your boy Uncle Tasty here. The holidays are a time when a lot of your favorite content creators will wish to spend time with their families, see friends and loved ones, and for a lot of people, their output will be slightly reduced. Obviously, during this time, please be gracious and respectful of people's private lives and accept that they can't always put out content for you to enjoy. However, having said that, here at the Untitled Wrestling Podcast, we don't have time for family because they've all disowned us. Normally around the time they meet Aaran. So, without further ado, it is time for us to present for you 2021's Match of the Year, or top 10 we're doing. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. It's me, Big Tasty. I'm joined by Aaran and Jay. Troy is not here. He is, aforementioned, too busy.
Too busy doing other podcast
He's got
things.
people in his life who love him, mate, unlike us. So, you know.
We're just...
I'm so alone.
What?
How are we doing, guys? How's the new year been? Just for anyone, it's just turned the new year. It's the 2nd of January. So we waited right until the very end of the year, so nothing escaped. We've got the whole year to look back on and pick our favourite matches. So yeah, it's just the very beginning of January. How has everyone's new year been? Have we all had a good time?
Yeah, I just drank a lot, mate.
I would say if we all recovered. That's the important thing.
I think I might be still drunk. I'm on my 3rd day here.
Because me and Jay in particular are getting towards that like period in our life where we can't really do the big ones anymore.
I didn't drink anything yesterday. I was too broken.
Fair enough.
I've been going to bed at 6 or 7 in the morning the past 2 nights.
When are you back in work, mate?
Next Monday. I've got a whole week, baby.
Fuck you. Yeah, I was tuning in like 15% stouts at 4:30 in the morning on New Year's Day, and it was on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. And yeah, I don't think there's many years left for me doing that. For being totally honest.
No, I was doing a similar thing.
Right, so we'll go straight into proceedings. We are going to give you each our top 10. We're going to go around the table one at a time. We're going to go 10 to 1. We're going to talk a little bit about our favourite matches, why we picked them, and if one of us has picked a previous match, we will acknowledge it, but then we will also fill in with one of our honorable mentions, and we'll have a little chat about that very briefly. This is obviously, if you're a long-term podcast listener, we did a sort of first half of the year list a couple of months ago. If we mention any matches now that we mentioned back there, we're going to sort of briefly gloss over them. We're not going to talk in depth about them. If you want to hear about our first half ones, go back listen to that podcast. Troy's not here, as we said. Should we just assume that his top 10 are like the WrestleMania card?
Yeah, WrestleMania,
Probably.
Money in the Bank, Big E's, cash in.
I reckon number 1 will be on my list somewhere.
I think it's also on my list as well.
They will all be Roman matches, I just imagine, for Troy.
No, I think he's going to have quite a bit of NXT UK stuff, to be fair.
So we'll have to get Troy to post his on social media maybe at some point when he gets a chance, so we can have his as well. That'd be nice. Right, so we'll start off. Aaran, do you want to go alphabetical? We'll start with you. Give me your number 10.
I'll start with one that I've already spoken about in the first half of the year. GCW Bloodsport 6 WrestleMania weekend. John Moxley versus Josh Barnett. The finish of it was ridiculous. Moxley didn't even win the match. It was absolutely shocking to watch, but in a good way.
These are like two titans of violence, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, it's not going to be a bad time when they have a match together.
Yeah, and the fact that
unless you're an immediate family member of either man.
The finish is very good, surprising, but in a good way. Give
us a brief bullet point of the finish then.
Basically, yeah, Moxley's pushing out blood, gets caught in a sleeper hold, like Samoa Joe style one, and basically passes out for a whole second. The match is over, but he's up and at it again straight away. It's beautiful.
That's like a very MMA finish.
The match is vicious in it. It's so good. I'll love it.
I still need to watch the last Bloodsport. I bought it with my free fight credits. I've still not got around to watching it.
I can't wait to like Matt Cardona's Bloodsport, I think.
Wait. Shit, I forgot to put a match in fucking.
Don't worry, Jay. I've got it.
Have you got that?
I've got it.
Okay.
Right. So that's lovely. So Jay, do you want to hit us with your 10th favorite match of the year, please, mate?
Yeah. Again, one I've spoke about Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. Really, really historical match. Obviously, first time two black women of WrestleMania, main event at WrestleMania, should I say? And it was just a very it felt like a special match, and it felt like an important match when we were watching it. And then the match happened, and it was like it kind of exceeded all my expectations. I thought it was going to be a good match. I didn't think it was going to be that good a match. And that's not a slight against either of the women. I was just like, they just like literally went full throttle and went like threw everything at each other, and it was really good.
I think Michael Cole actually really helped sell the importance of the match as well. It was a almost uncharacteristically hands-off approach on commentary. There was no they weren't pushing any hashtags on it or trying to get it trending on social media. They just let the match happen and let the moment happen.
They didn't even with something like that. Normally WWE would be like, "Oh, look at how great we are," and they didn't even do that. Like Michael Cole mentioned it in the opening of the match, and that was it.
Yeah, it was.
And then he did
It was characterized by its restraint on commentary, which I think made it feel a lot more impactful as well. Yeah,
it got that really cool spot as well with Bianca press slamming Sasha by carrying it up the steps and then pressing it into the ring.
Yeah, Bianca looked great, and she went on to enjoy a incredibly long and well booked title reign. Don't Google that.
Don't look up SummerSlam. It's bad for you.
SummerSlam's not real. It can't hurt you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Very excellent choice. I've gone for a slightly weird one, my number 10. I've gone for the Dark.
Is yours on WrestleMania weekend as well?
No, it's not. Funnily enough, unfortunately, I'm breaking the mold here. Breaking my tradition. I'm going for the Dark Order versus the Elite from AEW's Fight for the Fallen.
I had that as my.
I have also got it. Yeah.
Not necessarily bell to bell like the greatest match on my list here. I didn't think I can't remember a lot of what happened in the ring, but obviously, I mean, what sticks out is that entrance.
Yeah,
which was phenomenal. There were great bits in the match. There were really fun spots.
I thought this match told a really good story,
but it's in my list predominantly because this is the match that made me maybe feel the most powerful emotions out of any of the matches I watched this year.
Yeah.
When it got down to 3-on-1, Hangman versus Kenny in the Bucks, the dread just hit you and it's oh, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
I think as well, because it got down, was it Hangman and Uno it got down to?
Hangman and Silver.
Silver it was,
Silver. Yeah. Well, I just remember, when each, Dark Order member fell, you could see almost the despair in their face that they were letting Hangman down.
Yeah, and it was because Hangman, because in the storyline, Hangman had gambled his title shot for the Dark Order to get a title shot of their own against the Bucks, and that was the stakes. And it was just the Elite just mercy killing all your favorite wrestlers. It was just oh, you love Evil Uno, he's gone. Yep. You love John Silver. Yeah, we're gonna kick him and pin him.
Don't worry about the Good Brothers though.
Yeah. Fine.
He's the shit, Gallows.
So yeah, that's my number 10.
Yeah,
probably the match that put me the closest to shedding tears of all the ones on this list.
Yeah, it reminded me. The end of that match reminded me of Infinity War, where Thanos has just snapped his fingers and everyone's dying.
Yeah,
one by one, and Dark Order member falls.
Right, Aaron, next up for you, mate.
We've literally just spoke about my number 9, so I'll do an honourable mention. A bit of a cheat say, a 2-in-1. I've got one like that later on as well. But both Elimination Chamber matches, because there were very good matches that lasted half an hour. There was lots of actual decent wrestling, and then even the storylines going into it. One was the winner faces Roman Reigns immediately after the match. And then the Raw one, some bastard called the Miz via contract, a Money in the Bank contract showed up. Oh, it's very good chamber matches for very surprise things happening at the end.
That SmackDown one in particular was really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Was that the one that had Cesaro in?
Yeah.
It was where Cesaro looked amazing, but then Bryan Danielson just beat him.
Yeah.
And then Roman just came out and murdered Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Sorry, Daniel Bryan, my bad.
Get it right, come on.
Bryan Danielson.
He beat him so hard his names got switched around.
Bryan Danielson wouldn't have took that kind of beating. He would have stamped on Roman's head till he fucking popped it like a fucking spot. But yeah, I agree with that. Both very good matches.
Good picks, mate. Yeah, good picks. Jay, your number 9 then, please, mate.
My number 9 was another one that I had on my earlier in the year. A lot of my first couple of from earlier in the year, I've noticed, and that was Arcade Anarchy. It was just a really fun match. Like, it wasn't the best match of the year. It was just really fun.
It made it on my honorable mentions. Again, not as good as the best friend stand-up match from 2020, which was the parking lot brawl.
Oh, that was amazing though. That was so
but
good.
Still excellent. And there was a lot to talk about in it as well. I'll let you carry on before I talk all over you.
Yeah, so it was best friends versus Miro and Kip. Obviously, it was kind of teasing the end of Miro and Kip's friendship. Miro was starting to like a bit of a nutter. And he was booked to look like an absolute beast in this match. He was just fighting people off all the time. So the members of the best friends, it was Chuck and Orange as well. Trent did make his return at the end of the match from injury, as did Chris Statlander. And she hit I think it was an air raid crash through a air hockey table onto Penelope.
You're underselling that, Jay. Like, Chris Statlander made her appearance through a claw machine. She came up like one of the fucking aliens in Toy Story.
Yeah. And the match ended with a really cool bit where they're all giving Sue the thumbs up. You love that. You love to see it. It was just cool, to see the fact that they put an entire arcade around the ring. It was just
there were so many cool little details as well. Said they had the arcade, then they had a prize station like you'd have in Dave and Buster's in the States, but all the prizes were chairs and 2x4s and wrestling weapons, and they had ticket price values written on them, so you could exchange your tickets. At one point, Miro just bealed Orange Cassidy the entire length of the ring on the outside. He threw him 9 foot horizontally. It was fucking terrifying. And this was very much, looking back now, it was really important because this was the moment that Miro was made as this character.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the turning point for when Miro was starting to become a little bit more unhinged. He was doing the whole Bridezilla thing where he was trying to take over Kip and Penelope's wedding. And then obviously the week after this where Miro broke Kip's arm in a door.
But this whole match was Miro just cannot be killed by conventional weaponry.
Yeah.
He was like a horror villain. Every time they put him down and they'd start focusing on Kip, Miro just burst out through the fucking wall and kill someone. Yeah,
and there was the really good story bit as well where Orange jumped off the stage and took Miro down, and then Trent speared him, and then Chuck hit the running power slam on the through the stage onto Kip. Everyone came out of this looking good. Even Kip, who basically was there just to take an absolute beating off everybody. And as I say, it wasn't technically the best match of the year. It was just a really fun match.
I mean, not all matches have to be the technically best.
No.
Trust me, my list will tell you differently.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
It was just big dumb fun, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was just really good fun, and I enjoyed it for that. And I've gone back to rewatch it a couple of times, and it still lives up. It's just really fun.
Fair. Right, for my number 9, we'll stick with Orange Cassidy because I'm going for Orange Cassidy versus Pac versus Kenny Omega. Now, this is a match. I won't talk about it too much because this is a match we talked about in the first half of the year. This was a match that was actually on my honourable mentions for the first half of the year, and it's moved into my top 10. And the main reason it has moved into my top 10 is because when you look at the pace of this match and how frantic it was, and then you look at how fucked Kenny Omega was for the most of his World Championship run, you just have to give it all the respect because to keep up with not only Orange Cassidy but also Pac and be chronically boned the way that Kenny's body was, I think that just it makes if anything for me it elevates the match even further. And I think now that we've got to the end of Kenny's title reign, you can look back on it as a whole and say like what were the undisputed highlights, and I think this sticks out as probably his best title defense.
Yeah, for a match that got very little build up as well. It was so good. It was
on a purely in ring bell to bell
sort
of metric, this is the best match Kenny Omega had as AEW champion. And like you said, they literally threw it together 2 weeks before the pay-per-view because they basically got Orange and they did a draw, didn't they? Orange and Pac had a draw.
Yeah.
This is the one where Orange got like concussed, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like it was meant to be a time limit draw, and then Orange got knocked out by that Liger bomb from Pac.
Yeah.
So they called an audible, and Kenny came in and just like smacked Pac with the belt.
Yeah.
So it led to a double DQ.
So really, really fun match, and which weirdly it's moved. Like I said, having viewed it as like part of Kenny's whole title reign, which was pretty incredible by itself, I think it makes it even better in retrospect.
Yeah. No argument from me.
Number 8 then, Aaron?
Number 8 is going to be my only NXT match that I've got on this, in my top 10 anyway, is the men's War Games match, which is a bit of a, it's a people, it's 50-50, isn't it? It's hit or miss with this match. I feel like it's the only War Games match we've had with actual storyline, personally, like proper storyline. There's no Undisputed Era in this War Games match, the first time ever in a men's War Games.
Wait, hang on, are you telling me that Roderick Strong teaming with the Viking Raiders wasn't storyline? As fun as that was.
First of all, it wasn't the Viking Raiders.
It was Authors of Pain.
Was it Authors of Pain?
Yeah.
It was Pete Dunne and Ricochet who teamed with the Vikings.
That's right. I remember being big Hossy boys.
Pete Dunne looked really upset that he had to wear war paint.
Yeah, so it was good to see they actually made a storyline out of War Games that felt more invested. Because that was my issue with War Games before, was it was just a War Games match for the sake of it, wasn't it? So yeah, there was a lot of up for grabs here.
It was also really nice that Johnny Gargano finally got to be in a War Games match as well.
Yeah,
in what might well have turned out to be his last appearance.
So it was a really good match to finish off the show as well. Braun Breaker getting the disgusting spear at the end through the table. That is still horrible to watch. It's just that vicious.
The fear for Ciampa's neck when he took that spear.
Yeah. Oh.
I winced when I saw that spear because I was like, oh no.
There's just so much torque on that spear. It's ridiculous and it's horrible to watch. The whole match is a whole as well, that your new guys got to stand out in the War Games. You got to see your older boys do what they do best. It was just great to watch it.
It felt like a really important sort of passing of the torch moment as well, from old NXT to Fun Factory NXT.
Yeah.
One thing that I did really like about it as well was that it's sort of, sometimes with War Games matches, it's like there to like finish, like tie up loose ends of stories, isn't it? Mm. This one feels like it started a lot of feuds. Like Tony D'Angelo and Pete Dunne started feuding because of this match. Mm. Braun Breaker and Ciampa's feud carried on because of this match.
Yeah. Knight and Waller kept going for a few weeks as well.
Mm.
So there you go. Yeah, that was number 8. My favourite NXT match so far. Well, of the year.
Jay, your number 8, please, mate.
I can guarantee that you've got this on your list, Big Tasty. I'll be shocked if you haven't. Maybe Aaron as well. And that's Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa from St. Paddy's Day, whatever it was called.
St. Patrick's Day Slam.
There you go.
The lights out match. For me, it was my favourite women's match of the year. It was just so good. And I think it really kind of it was an important match for AEW because not only did it showcase, the women's division, which everyone criticizes all the time, is definitely improving. It's definitely like on the up. It also kind of like set the standard that the women can do like whatever the men can do.
Yeah.
And that, like, literally, we were just seeing on Rampage this week a match that nearly made it into my honorable mentions. TJ versus the Bunny and Penelope Ford. I'd like that street fight, and again, it just shows that like the women's division's come such a long way in AEW in the last 12 months.
And this match also was very important, like you said, because it showed that AEW would show this. They will show women bleeding.
Yeah.
They will show. They will show you Britt Baker. I mean, it's in the intro of the dime right now, like Britt Baker's face covered in blood.
Yeah. Although apparently Britt had to like fight for like certain spots in the match, didn't she? I said she had to fight for the thumbtack spot. She had to fight for.
But as you said, it wasn't just a shocking spectacle. It was a very good match as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like the thing is now after this match, every time Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa are standing across the ring from one another, you get excited because you're thinking, oh, fuck, are we going to get Britt and Thunder Rosa again?
Yeah.
And they are very much like Batman and the Joker to each other.
Yeah, and this was also, it also felt a lot like this was the match that sort of proved that Britt was ready to be champion.
Yeah. I think Britt wouldn't, if this match had been a flop, I think Britt's title reign might have not happened.
Well, yeah, it just not happened. They would have just put it on someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was excellent. I loved it.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, Britt Baker's been she says, unironically in her promos, she's been like the sort of the backbone of the division from day one. But then like people like Thunder Rosa who've come in and just elevated everyone around them.
Yeah.
And this is the proof right here that that it's moved in the right direction and that we are going places. Fantastic, yeah, excellent. I'm going to go with again. I think this is it's recency bias here, isn't it? But I'm going with another one from earlier in the year. Like a lot of you, Jay, a lot of my earlier ones in the bottom, like half of my top 10. Because I think you just generally more perceive. You generally just draw more to the ones that happened more recently. But I'm going for Eddie Kingston and John Moxley versus the Young Bucks from AEW Double or Nothing. I spoke a bit during our awards podcast about how Eddie Kingston was my breakout star of the year. And I said that this match in particular, this felt really important. Like this felt like everything's good now. Like we're back to not normal, but this was the first time Eddie Kingston had appeared in front of a live crowd at AEW.
Yeah. It was so over.
The reaction when Moxie and Kingston came out was just biblical. Like it was just pure, just joy into my soul. Like just hearing all those people go absolutely ballistic for Eddie Kingston, John Moxley. It's like Moxie kicks the door open and they walk out, and then everyone's like going nuts. Moxie just skies that bottle of water. Eddie Kingston's just slapping hands. It was just the match itself absolutely fucked. It was incredible.
And it wasn't even Kingston that lost the match as well, which made it even weirder because you would have thought instantly, oh, Kingston's taking the pin here.
There were like 3 moments where I was like, hang on, they might just put the belts on them here because they're so over.
Yeah.
And there were like 3 big near falls in that match where you're like, oh shit, they're doing it. It was just, but even if this match was boilerplate average, that entrance alone would have put it on my top 10 because it was just, after so long of, I mean, wrestling was fine. AEW did a great job during like the main pandemic era of 2020 of carrying on and sort of putting the wrestlers in the crowd and at least having some sort of crowd presence. But we all kidded ourselves that we didn't need the crowds, and then as soon as we saw this pay-per-view in this match, we're like, oh no, we were lying to ourselves the whole time. Like we do need this. We need this really badly.
Well, yeah, to kind of like pull back the curtain, this was like the first time we were all watching a pay-per-view together, all in the same room.
Yeah.
And all of us kind of like took a minute, didn't we? When we saw the crowd there, went, whoa, like this crowd are fucking red hot.
Yeah. It was incredible. It was really good. And like I said, the match itself was excellent. And yeah, I'd love at some point for Moxie and Kingston to have a run with the tag belts if that's something that can happen. Because I think they do really good work with them. But yeah.
Yeah.
Sound. So next up then, Aaron, can we have your number 7, please?
Yeah, back to GCW because that's where the heart is this year. Hate to say it. Homecoming night 1. This was second half of the year, so we've not spoke about it. Nick Gage versus Matt Cardona.
Oh, the Deathmatch King.
The Deathmatch King. Ugh.
Well, the Deathmatch King taking on Nick Gage.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate him so much.
He's on Mount Rushmore of deathmatch wrestlers.
I mean, they wouldn't even book him to face Jericho because he was too violent. They have to get Nick Gage instead.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate both of these. The match itself, obviously, at this point, Matt Cardona was a heat magnet because he called himself the Deathmatch King. He came out wearing a crown. He done deathmatch stuff, fair play, worked the crowd up like mad for weeks. He even done the whole surprise the show before to come out, done the John Moxley swagger. took his hood off as Matt Cardona. Way.
There we go.
Oh,
A little bit of Mount Rushmore of deathmatch wrestling there.
He's an absolute arsehole, but you're meant to absolutely
Is this
hate
the one
him.
where he beat Gage for the title?
Yep, that's
where,
this one.
Where Ricky and Page hoofed him in the dick.
Yep, Ricochet and Page, who was a baby face at the start, was a heel at the end.
Ricky and Page turns heel, turns more times in one match than the Big Show does all year.
Genuinely.
I mean, he did wrestle a Big Show later in the year, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty good of Matt Cardona just being a dirty heel and Nick Gage being your hero, basically.
It's the closest I think we'd ever get to John Cena wrestling a death match.
Yeah, genuinely, yeah.
Like one thing I'd love to see is John Cena showing up in like GCW or PWG.
Just for one match.
Just for one match, yeah, and just to see how the crowd take him. And this was like, because he was really amping up like his WWE side, wasn't he? And like the heel work he did was excellent. He
really even came out to Zack Ryder's music.
Yeah,
that's how ridiculous it was.
Incredible.
And the fact that he had
afterwards
thrown actual pizza cutters at him.
You can say afterwards, didn't he like put a picture like CM Punk did of like the title in the fridge?
Yeah.
He was literally comparing himself to like CM Punk in Chicago. Money in the Bank.
He wore it all white as well in that match, and then afterwards, his gear was definitely not white.
No, it was just red. It was ridiculous.
Well, didn't he also post a picture like the next day of him like in Disneyland with Chelsea? Like covered, like still like all like fucking sutures and all sorts, and like all his wounds like taped up and stuff.
There was literally a photo of his arm where he takes off a bandage on his arm, and there's just a hole there that's still seeping out blood. It's like,
he tweeted the picture out of his bed sheets as well that he had to pay for. It was just like, it literally looked like he'd had like impromptu surgery in his bed.
It is horrible.
There's a lot of blood.
I mean, 2021 threw us a lot of curveballs, but I don't think any of us saw that coming, did we?
No.
The king of the deathmatch himself, Matt Cardona, no.
As I say, I absolutely hate him, but you were meant to hate him, so fair play to him.
So, in that respect, he was perfect.
He done his job. He done exactly what he was meant to do. So
sweet. Moving on from that, Jay, follow that with your number 7, please, mate.
I'm going to go for a match that was equally violent, but in a different way. And that was Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa from NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. The fact that Walter won this match by chopping Ciampa in the heart so hard that Ciampa couldn't move says all you need to know, really. There was a bit where he went to chop Ciampa on the announce table and put his hand through the announce table.
Yeah.
And
that probably wasn't even gimmicked either.
Oh no, it was definitely gimmicked, but it.
He went straight to the solid wood. Like
they didn't need it to be. But yeah, it was just a really hard hitting match. Ciampa like more than held up his end of it as well, like giving it just as good as he got. It's one of them. We were talking before about Ciampa in War Games and me worrying about his neck when he took that spear. Every single move Walter did to Ciampa, I was fucking terrified that he was going to injure Ciampa.
Yeah,
and there was a bit where he like had Ciampa like leaning on the top rope and he was stamping on his neck. And that's the thing with Walter as well. Like it's weird that he's in WWE because he's the kind of guy you wouldn't expect to see in WWE. And if you did, you'd think they'd tell him to change his style, but they haven't for Walter. He's still doing Walter things, chopping people's souls out with the body, stiffing the living shit out of them, dumping them on the head.
It's like, what if they rebooted the Teletubbies like next week, except Tinky Winky's like Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, this is one of 2 Walter matches I've got on my list. I think we know what the other one is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was excellent. It was a really good match. I think it was my favorite match from that like weekend of shows. Because they did like a 2-night takeover for WrestleMania, didn't they? So yeah, it was just really fucking stiff.
Yeah, sweet. Sound. I'm going for my number 7. I'm going to have Andrade versus Pac 1, which was from the AEW Rampage 10th September. So this was the match that was supposed to be on All Out, but he got pushed because Pac couldn't make it. This also introduced me to what is a sleeper contender for feud of the year, which is Andrade versus Bumping to the Outside. because he just decided like that's gonna be my thing now. I'm just going to do all the bumps to the outside.
Yeah.
This match was just insane. It was just two guys. I think the other one was a bit more brutal, but I think this one technically was a little bit better.
Yeah, it was cleaner.
And they just literally went, yeah. Rampage stealthily had some of the best AEW matches on TV this year.
Yeah,
more so than Dynamite, I'd say. I think the hit rate on Rampage. I know it's just a short show, but I looking at my list, there's a lot of Rampage matches on here, and not that many Dynamite matches.
Rampage is heavily based on the wrestling matches, isn't it?
Yeah,
compared to actual interviews and promos and things. So,
well, yeah, this match. I mean, they said it was going to be a pay-per-view match on TV, and they weren't lying.
Yeah, it was very good.
This is just what happens when two of the best flippy boys in like the Northern Hemisphere just go at it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, there's no argument here.
Yeah, it was an absolute banger. Both matches were. That's the thing.
Yeah, Andrade Pac 2 was also excellent. And if you said you preferred it because the finish was cleaner, then I can get behind that.
Yeah, that's fair.
God, remember this was back in the day when we still wanted Ric Flair to come in. How times changing. Right, moving swiftly on then. Aaron, can we have your number 6, please?
Let's talk about Goldberg, shall we?
Dadberg,
but not the Royal Rumble match that had his match of the year on the awards. We're going to Crown Jewel versus Bobby Lashley.
Now this is
anywhere.
2021's been weird because it's almost been like the rehabilitation of Goldberg, hasn't it? Because coming into 2021, he was not in a good place in the eyes of the wrestling community.
No, I think they found the niche of just let him brawl on the outside or give him a no DQ match. Or
I think just realised. I remember that Brock Lesnar match from a few years ago that everyone loved. What if he just does that loads?
Just do that loads more and more. Yeah,
because that was really fun.
They've figured it out. Basically,
I don't want him to drop the Undertaker on his face. I want him to I want him to just do fun fighting.
So basically, that's what you got at Crown Jewel: is Goldberg versus Lashley hitting each other with wet spears galore, and the finish as well, just off the ramp, surprisingly out of nowhere. It wasn't like you seen the mat or anything. It's not like it was a giveaway that they were going flying off the ramp. So when it did happen, you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah, and this match was like to throw it back to obviously we have to have our mandatory TNA comparison here. This was like the evil twin of the years back street fights that Bobby Lashley and Scott Steiner used to have.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was quite a long match for a Goldberg match as well. It was.
Yeah, it didn't go
11 minutes. There you go.
I mean, in Goldberg minutes, that's like 45.
Exactly. That and
the fucking hour Broadway, not Goldberg minutes, mate.
And it was very good as well. It wasn't like, as I say, well, obviously it's going to be very good if it's in my top 10 of the year, eh?
Aye, pal, it is.
Aye. So yeah, I'm doing that since I already spoke about McIntyre in the first half of the year. So there you go.
Fair.
Jay, your number 6, please, mate.
So I did have the Super Elite Best Dark Order down, but we already spoke about that. So I'm going to dip into the honourables and go for Walter versus Dragunov 2.
I've got it in my honourables as well, so there you go.
It was I think this would have probably easily topped Troy's list. I know how much he loved this match, and he probably for it for his match of the year as well. It was just a really, really hard hitting match. Obviously, it was completely different, but also similar to the first match they had. The first match obviously being behind closed doors and an empty arena or an empty studio rather. This match had fans in the crowd, and I was worried that it was going to kind of take away how hard hitting it was, because the first match you could hear how hard hitting it was. You could hear every chop, you could hear but the crowd were actually almost silent watching it, because they were not because they were bored, because they were just kind of enamored by it. Match finished with Ilya basically just withstanding everything Walter threw at him and making Walter tap out as well in a rear naked choke, which the fact that not only did he beat Walter, but he beat him by submission.
Not even his finisher. Yeah.
Not even his finisher, Walter's finisher. Really kind of, and it was what Walter won the first match with by Ilya passing out.
Yeah.
it really kind of like solidified like how big a deal it was that Walter, not only Walter lost, but that Ilya beat Walter like that. And it was his first singles loss in WWE as well.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Right.
And again,
The
so
fact that-
a lot of people have that as a match of the year, like top.
Even WWE themselves have it in their top 5. So
Yeah.
it's also the fact that all the build-up was on NXT UK, and they thought the first one was an absolute banger. Let's put the second one on a US takeover.
Yeah.
Like, that's
this match is too big for this like slightly forlorn brand. We need to put this
Yeah.
on. Like, we need to put eyes on this. Like, let's move it to like the proper NXT.
yeah, that's how big a deal it was. So
Yeah.
and it worked. The second one was just as good, if not better, than the first one.
Yeah.
Right, my number 6 then. I had Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker Lights Out, which has already been talked about. Excellent match. So instead, I'm going to throw in one of my honorable mentions, which is a match that I think caught all of us by surprise. And that was MJF versus Darby Allin at Full Gear.
Fuck! Fuck!
Is that your number 1?
I've got it at number 3. So there you go.
I don't think any of us were ready for this.
No.
I think it caught us all like completely cold, but in the best possible way. Like this was a lovely surprise.
I hyped this match up so much on a review for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, like easily MJF's best match.
Yeah.
Easily. He did things in this match that I never thought he'd be able to do.
That was the whole point of this match as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was fantastic. The finish, obviously, there was your classic. There was your classic MJF fuckery, but it wasn't just like he clocks Darby and then pins him. It was he clocks Darby and then does what he said he was going to do, and he beats him with a headlock takeover.
Piece of shit.
It was just beautiful in its sort of dickheadery. It was fantastic. And then as like a little sort of coda, a little sort of epilogue, you had that fantastic promo he cut after the match as well.
Oh, that was awesome. That was tremendous.
Where he was saying about like how he was like screaming into the camera, like people only thought he was good on the mic and he couldn't do it in the ring.
Yeah, I'm with you now.
This match was the whole package. It was everything. And give Darby his credit. He just bumped his face off like he normally does. And took some sick bumps, which is kind of becoming Darby's. Oh, it's always been Darby's thing, really, hasn't it? But he was excellent. He played his part in this match to perfection.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Me for number 5.
Number 5.
Halfway through, boys.
The halfway point.
Halfway.
Slamming through it.
So I'll go back to GCW WrestleMania weekend. As we all know, I spent about 3 days on the trot watching about 12 shows from them. It was ridiculous.
This was like the collective, wasn't it? Where it was like all. It was
literally about, what was it, 40 quid or something for about all 12 shows on that weekend. It was ridiculous.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And they were all pretty good shows, to be fair. This one is a standout because it made me really like a wrestler in particular from GCW. RS Spring Break, we're going to Blackheart Leo Rush versus Jordan Oliver. Obviously, we know who Leo Rush is. He's debuted in AEW. He's very well known from being on Raw as Bobby Lashley's mic man.
It's Bobby Lashley's Flavor Flav.
Yeah, pretty much. But he is a very good wrestler. Jordan Oliver, I'm sure he's like 22 years old or something ridiculous like that.
He's young enough to make us all hate him.
Yeah. He has an amazing theme song. We spoke about it on our top 10 songs as well. Yep. He's a very good wrestler for his age. He's starting to get all your big matches as well. There's him and another wrestler we'll speak about later on. It's like the two young pillars of GCW. It was a 20-minute match of just a tall guy versus a small guy, and it went very fast, very hard hitting. And honestly, Blackheart Leo Rush is scary as shit as well. Give us that in AEW, please.
Get him in the House of Black.
Give us Spooky Boy Leo Rush. Let's go. Yeah, but yeah, it's genuinely just a solid match. Go watch it if you've got 20 minutes free time. It's fantastic.
Cool. Jay then?
My number 5 was what I actually voted for as my pick for match of the year in our awards because other people picked other matches. And that was Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki from the Rampage pre-show. This was a match AEW had the fucking audacity to put out on free on YouTube.
Against Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Against the last like half an hour of SmackDown. Well, no, it wasn't even Roman and Brock. That was Ali versus Ruby Soho. There you go then.
Also on the show, did we not have Lee Moriarty versus Bobby Fish?
Which banged as well.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Bobby
Fish match.
With great respect to those guys, no one's talking about that match when they talk about the show.
Right.
Well, yeah, it was a dream match anyway. This was like in the height of the Minoru Suzuki made the tour of the USA because he didn't get put in the G1, so we just saw his ass and went to America to take it out on people. And it was, for me, out of the matches I've seen, it was comfortably the best one. They just beat the shit out of each other for about 20 minutes.
I'll forever be grateful for the various US promotions for how generous they were when booking Minoru Suzuki on this US tour.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to, but they gave us some, like you say, some absolute dream matches.
And the fact as well, like this match in particular, it was like he had some downtime. He was just like in a coffee shop, and he got a call saying, "Do you want to wrestle Bryan Danielson?" And
for free on YouTube.
Yeah, in a dark match for AEW. He was like, "Yes, I will fly out now." And just like literally went to the airport and fucking did it. Yeah, I mean, Minoru Suzuki was my number 2 pick for Wrestler of the Year just because of some of the fucking wild matches he's had. Like,
he's fought Gresham, he's fought Nick Gage, he's fought Mox.
I mean, we literally have to have someone has to make like a Minoru Suzuki Murder 21 t-shirt with like all the matches on the back or something.
Yeah.
He did a bad murder on Daniel Garcia on one show.
Yeah, he wrestled like Josh Alexander and Moxley and Bryan and it was insane.
But this match in particular stood out for me just because it was a match that I've always wanted to see, and it had happened before, but it was when Danielson was a lot more inexperienced. He wasn't like what we've got now, which is the best wrestler in the world, in my opinion. It was Suzuki doing Suzuki things like no selling and laughing and just murdering each other with chops and stiff strikes. Both guys' chests looked like fucking minced beef after this match as well. And it was just lovely. Love to see it.
Yeah, this was like peak Bryan Danielson just hitting Suzuki really hard and then Suzuki just laughing like a demon.
Yeah,
like,
that's all
face.
it was.
Yeah.
Suzuki doing what he does best and just laughing at his opponents. And the audacity to laugh at Bryan Danielson as well is ridiculous.
The fact that Danielson won with the stiffest Busaiku knee I've ever seen him hit.
I think he just kneed him in the back of the head.
I think he had to fucking shoot knee Suzuki to like make sure that Suzuki would stay down.
Yeah, this is excellent. It didn't make it on my list because, and I'll go into it more because I've got some Bryan Danielson matches on here, and I'll go into that a bit more in a bit. In fact, I'll go into it right now because my fifth match, my fifth place match is, and I had the fear when you started talking about your match, Jay, when you started reading out, is Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega.
That was on my honorable mentions.
So I'll tell you why I didn't put Suzuki on, but I did put some other Bryan. So it's only because I don't have that history of watching Minoru Suzuki as a competitor.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I have other Bryan Danielson versus people matches on here, but they're all other. So Bryan Danielson's like the fixture, like the solid, the constant. He's excellent, obviously best. He makes a solid case for best wrestler of the year, best wrestler in the world at the moment. All the other people I've put in this list are people who I've watched for like a couple of years, who I've got a bit more of an emotional attachment to. Yeah. And that's the only reason why I chose them over Suzuki. The Suzuki match was excellent, but this, Jesus Christ, as soon as Bryan Danielson's like signed to AEW, and as soon as he walked out, obviously he confronts Kenny Omega, and like the internet just loses its collective shit, and it's like, oh shit, the Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega match is going to break the universe.
And oh boy, it did.
And oh boy, did it, yeah. And this was just Danielson's first match in AEW.
Yeah. It was,
yeah.
So this had an added like a little bit of danger in it because we didn't quite know like what state he was in. like we know now that he's pretty okay and he's not banged up and he's good to go. But like when Kenny was like throwing him out the ring onto his head and shit like that, and like kicking him, like feet triggering him like viciously in the neck, you're like everyone was just watching this going, "Oh Jesus Christ, this is formerly medically retired Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega is literally trying to kick his head off with his knee. What's going on? I'm really scared." Like there was so many cool spots, like all the bits. Like remember that massive V trigger that Kenny did all the way down the entrance ramp.
Remember
when they just like got to that point where they were just like running and throwing the knees to each other's faces for like 20 minutes. It was it was insane. It was the first, to my knowledge, the first ever 30-minute time limit draw in AEW.
No,
Cody and Darby
and Mox and Pac.
True.
Yeah.
Well, moving on.
Sorry, sorry, mate.
It was the first one this year.
The first one this year, yeah. And it was a dream match. And every now and then, sometimes dream matches, they don't live up to the hype. AJ Styles, Nakamura, WWE. But every now and then, one comes along and it's everything you want it to be and a little bit more. And I even think the draw was a good way to, because like obviously Bryan it was his first match, Kenny was the champion. It's just specifically a non-title match, but I think the draw was perfect because it managed to elevate both guys, and it was breathless. It was just absolutely breathless by the end. It was everything you wanted it to be. It was incredible. Yeah, 5th place. Only 5th place for that. Only 5th.
Right, number 4 is going to be my last WWE one altogether. Yep, WWE one. Number 4. One that we were quite shocked by, the opening match of Crown Jewel, Edge versus Seth Rollins, or now named Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah, it's his official middle name for him.
This is his official middle name. The Hell in a Cell match. Because boys, do you remember that when you actually build up a rivalry and it finishes off in Hell in a Cell, it makes more sense. It's a better match.
As opposed to, it's October, so we have to do Hell in a Cell now because that's the time of year we do Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
It was just so good, the match itself, the build up towards it.
I still haven't seen it. I need to watch it.
It's a very good match.
I remember you and Troy telling me how good it was.
It opened the show as well.
Yeah.
That's what the mad thing about it is. Jessica Carr was the referee for it in Saudi Arabia. That's a very, very big deal.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I personally requested it, didn't he?
Yep. Edge is a big fan of her, so that seems to be a thing. The match itself is ridiculous. It's like half an hour long. It's what a Hell in a Cell match should be, a vicious rivalry where two men absolutely hate each other, want to kill each other. Yeah, there's chairs and stomps and spears, all of it. Go watch it. It's fantastic.
Sweet. Okay then, you're number 4, then please, Jerry.
Number 4, let's keep it with Bryan Danielson, and let's keep it with a draw. Hangman vs Danielson from Winter is Coming.
Yeah.
It was
the longest match in AEW history.
Yeah, they went an hour draw, and I think it was the closest it's felt to like AEW replicating a New Japan match, in the sense that like the match itself wasn't like the fastest paced match. There was parts where it was like quite like kind of drawn out, like with Danielson just stomping the shit out of Hangman for a bit, or like working a limb. But for the most part, like especially the last 10 minutes, they were like full throttle, and there was like ebbs and flows where like obviously Hangman did that spot where he hit the dead eye on the apron and then missed the spot through the table.
That table bump is like one of the gnarliest things I've seen all year.
Yeah, there was the bit where like Danielson like opened Hangman up hard way on the ring post and squeezed his head against the turnbuckle. Yeah,
to like make the blood literally bubble out of his face.
They had to actually like check on Hangman, which AEW rarely do in like matches where they'll actually stop the match to check on a competitor. Yeah. Danielson's heel work in this was outstanding. Like I'm doing jumping jacks in the ring while Hangman was like getting checked on, even after like Hangman had started working over his knee.
The thing is, we seen that bit because it was during the break. But if you were in America and watched it on TNT, you would have seen that.
It would have been on picture in picture. They just
yeah. There you go.
And yeah, then literally like the absolute goal of Bryan Danielson to skin the cat with like a minute left of the match after going for 59 fucking minutes.
We said this on like various times, but Danielson looked like he could have done another hour.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he didn't look like he looked like he barely broke a sweat. And it obviously on Wednesday we've got the rematch, which I'm looking forward to. And he was saying like how if it went to a judge's decision, I would have won that match, and he's right because he dominated the whole match.
Well, they fed this into they had a promo on Dynamite this week where like Hangman was like, the thing I've learned now is Danielson won't get tired, he won't get bored. I can't outlast him. I've just got to beat him.
Yeah, and even down to the timing of the finish where Hangman hit the buckshot, and the second he like crawled over for the cover, the bell rang.
Like his arm was in the air over Danielson's body when the bell rang. Like about to come down for the cover. It was there's so much to like in this match. Like you said, Danielson had his knee worked over, but he also at the same time worked over Hangman's shoulder, so he couldn't hit the buckshot as heavily. It was excellent. They just told the best story in this match. Like I know they had a lot of time to do it, but Jesus Christ, it didn't feel like gratuitous. Like they used every minute effectively.
Yeah. As I say, I compared this to New Japan. I feel like AEW trying to make this their like Okada Omega.
Yeah.
I feel as if the next match isn't going to be the last time we see Hangman and Bryan face off. I think we're probably going to get a third. And
I mean, I've got no problem with that.
I've got no issue with that. I'm quite excited for it.
And something else we've talked about as well a lot is that just Bryan Danielson looks like he's having a time of his life in this feud.
Yeah.
He's having such good fun. Like just being an absolute bellend.
Yeah. Well, as I said it on the day one live stream last night, when we were talking about Bryan Danielson, the fact that he said when he was in WWE, he was basically doing a parody of wrestling. That was his style.
Yeah.
And then now he's back to being a wrestler again, not a sports entertainer. And it's nice to see.
Everyone's getting their fucking head kicked in.
Yeah.
Including Danielson. There was that brilliant moment towards the end where Hangman just grabbed Danielson's hands and started kicking his head in.
Yeah.
Which was lovely. Yeah. It was you could this match was an hour long and you could almost talk for an hour about it. It was that like rich and shot through with like little details.
Yeah. As I say, it really definitely like whet the appetite for the second one.
Yeah, I only realised when I watched Rampage yesterday that it's happening this week, and I got really excited.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Excellent. Right, for my number 4, then I'm going to have CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston from AEW Full Gear. Nice. When a match starts, not with a ring bell, but with Eddie Kingston backfisting CM Punk to the floor, it's going to be a slightly different kettle of fish to what AEW normally serves you up.
Yeah, that backfist made him bleed, was it not? Was it not that backfist that made him bleed? Something made him bleed.
I mean, it literally knocked him silly. Like knocked him straight down, knocked him on his ass. And from then on, that set the tone. This was, again, another match that didn't have a great amount of build, but when you're Eddie Kingston and CM Punk, all you need is 2 5-minute promo segments.
Yeah.
And we're there. And it becomes one of the most anticipated matches on a stacked card. This was just a big nasty brawl, wasn't it? For like 12 minutes of just 2 fellas beating the piss out of each other. There was
shortest match on the card as well.
It was the shortest match on the card.
Yeah.
There was no finesse in this. There was no flippy bits. There were no high spots. It was just 2 guys beating the shit out of each other because they didn't like each other. And yeah, it was the closest I think we got to seeing heel CM Punk.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I mean, this was like this match was literally the week that Eddie Kingston put out that Players Tribune article, which just made him like the most celebrated babyface on the internet.
Yeah.
And then CM Punk was like, "I'm just gonna beat you up, mate. So don't worry about it." It was so good. And again, if we talked about the MJF Derby promo following the match, this was that really cool CM Punk promo after this match as well, where he's there like in the back and he's got like blood pouring down his face and an ice pack on his head, and he just spits a big glob of blood on the floor, and he's like, "Yeah, day by day, I'm starting to remember who the fuck I am." And it's like, oh shit, it's Eddie Kingston broke Fun Punk. Like now there's only horrible Punk left.
Yeah. I can't wait for him to start doing nasty things to people.
So yeah, it's. I also I just want to actually. I'll wait until I go 3. Don't worry, I've got another thing to say about Eddie Kingston, but I'll leave that for a little next time. Aaron, do you want to go with your number went to the top 3 now? So do you want to go with your number 3?
Well, I would, but mine's already got mentioned with Darby Allin and MJF. So
That's your honorables then, pal.
I've said right. I've got 2 more. AEW's. I think it might be a forgotten one because it was very, very early on in the year. New Year's Smash.
Oh, Kenny Phoenix.
Kenny Phoenix. Oh, this was when we all knew Phoenix was good, but we didn't know he was that good. You didn't know he could be a main event player on his own. Oh boy, how we were proved wrong, yeah. Oh.
I mean, is it a shocker that one of the best tag team wrestlers on the planet is actually also one of the best singles wrestlers on the planet?
Exactly.
And then when you put him in a match with Kenny Omega, your chance of match of the year drastically go up.
Yeah, and it was one of the first matches of the year, so it was,
from like the 6th of January or something, was it?
Yeah, it was the first week.
It was
of
the
4th.
It was the same day as Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah.
Like the match itself is fast paced, like you'd expect a Ray Phoenix match to be. Kenny Omega was slowly becoming the cunt that he came to be. He wasn't quite fully there just yet, but he was getting there. Yeah, like Phoenix. That's all I've got to say, really.
Yeah, no. This was. I remember we talked quite a bit about this on the 6 month in match of the year show.
Yeah,
and yeah, this match was ridiculous. There was like a period, wasn't there, where like AEW just used the Lucha Bros or various combinations of Death Triangle versus another tag team, normally the Young Bucks, to just put on a banger at the start of every Dynamite.
Yeah, it was. Like there's one where I think it was Penta Unpack versus the Bucks in the opening match.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculously good.
That nearly made it on my list.
Yeah,
then you had Pac and Phoenix versus the Bucks. That was when they won the Battle Royal, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh fuck me. Yeah. I mean,
right. Phoenix is ridiculous on his own. Even in a tag team, he's fantastic. He's a hot tagger boy that we love to see. He does his shit. Oh, and Kenny Omega is the best in the world. So there you go.
Yeah, sweet. I mean, it's a we're saying oldie, but it's a cast your minds. God, man, 2021 was a long year, wasn't it?
And yeah.
If you cast it, yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen that, if you can't remember it, or if you've forgotten about it, go and check it out because I remember it being an absolute banger. Yeah, top pick there on. Now, Jay, you're number 3, please, mate.
The main event of night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom, Jay White versus Kota Ibushi. This match absolutely fucking slapped. It was the longest match in Wrestle Kingdom history, and it didn't feel like it. Like when we were watching it live, we literally felt like it was like about 20 minutes. It was like 55 minutes.
Yeah.
And they didn't let up at all. Like you'd expect from both guys. Both guys are fucking lunatics. There was a lot of like dropping each other on each other's heads on the apron. The whole match was just fucking expecting Jay White to finally like just destroy Kota Ibushi's dreams, and he was being a horrible bastard for the whole thing. Whatever I say about it's not going to do it justice. I spoke at length about it during the first half of the year thing. It was fucking phenomenal. Just go and watch it.
Yeah, you've got to remember that Ibushi went like 35 minutes the night before as well.
Against Naito, yeah.
Against Naito, who both like to drop each other on their heads every single time they fight each other.
And they did.
They did. So just to see Ibushi go 55 minutes the night after, it was ridiculous.
I think this was one of the things as well for me that kind of solidified Jay White as like a top guy in New Japan. Because they've been trying to sort of like have him as like the guy to fill Kenny Omega's like the void that he left. If
you want to use a sort of an analogy, true, I would understand. They've been trying to make Jay White happen for a while, haven't they?
Yeah.
And this you say because obviously he I think he was sort of over pushed a little bit when like Kenny and the Bucks left because he had to fill the void.
Well, yeah, I mean the fact that they like pretty much the it was like, I think it was about 3 weeks after Kenny and the Bucks left, he put the world title on Jay.
Yeah.
And it was like, boom. All right.
2021 felt like, or like the last sort of year or so, felt like him really him arriving.
Yeah.
And like fulfilling that sort of promise that he was sort of supposed to.
He's finally got the Switchblade character to perfection as well, I think, this year.
That's the only good thing about the Bullet Club these days as well. Makes me like just think he just needs to get out of there.
Yeah. Right. It's a shame to say that, but
Stop trying to make Bullet Club a thing.
it's a bit stale now, isn't it?
Sad Bullet Club noses.
Yeah.
Well, when you've got like the House of Torture, which like Kevin Kelly's shoot hates because he thinks dog shit.
Fair.
I'm sure he said something like, ask for your money back from New Japan World if you're watching this shit or something.
Jesus, burying his own show.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Consummate professional Kevin Kelly as well.
Can't wait for that at Wrestle Kingdom.
Right then. We'll have my number 3. I'm really glad that no one's picked this. Not because I just want this is my little special pick, and it means a lot to me. This match it is Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston from AEW Rampage, 29th of October. Now, this is a match. It was the semi-final or the semi-final in the title tournament that was eventually won by Danielson. And this match on a random episode of Rampage, this match got a standing ovation from the live crowd. Because beloved blue-collar battler Eddie Kingston went out there to try his hardest, and Bryan Danielson beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
Just out-wrestled him, then stood on his head.
And then choked him the fuck out. And Eddie Kingston just literally went out there, like, knowing that he probably couldn't win.
Yeah.
Knowing that Bryan Danielson was younger than him, better than him. Actually, not even, he's like 2 years older than him. But knowing that Bryan Danielson was better than him in pretty much every metric. And he was just going to try and ball it out, and he couldn't. He gave it everything. He literally pulled everything out of his guts. He pulled all of his determination out. He stood up defiant, and he just got put on his ass time and time again to the point where he couldn't get up anymore, and then he got choked the fuck out. And it was perfect.
I love the build up to this as well, where like it was the first time Danielson was sort of teasing that, like turning heel when he was like saying to Eddie, "You need to put the fucking work in."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm still a good guy, but like, he's your favorite, and I'm going to embarrass him."
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh, okay." And yeah, like I said, this match got us like halfway through. They had like a reset, like sort of 2 thirds way through this match. They both got back in the ring and sort of like squared off, and the crowd just stood up and applauded like spontaneously, like, near enough to a man, like the entire crowd in the arena. It was unbelievable. So I'm gonna say a little of the match. The match is excellent. Go and watch it. It's phenomenal. I'm so happy that on a list of my 10 favorite matches of 2021 that I can put 3 Eddie Kingston matches on there.
Yeah.
Because I talked about this when Eddie Kingston won Breakout Star in the award show. And it's just so beautiful to see that he's finally arrived at this point where he can not only be on a nationally televised show, but he can also be like one of the most popular acts on the roster. And he can still put on these great matches and tell great stories in the ring. And I'm really happy that AEW has given him a platform to do that, because if wrestling's full of people who never quite got their dues, who never quite made it to where they should have been, and who like never quite got to the big leagues. And it'll always look like Eddie Kingston was going to be one of those guys until about 18 months ago, when in a pandemic of all times, he was given this opportunity. And it's really, really, I'm really happy that it happened that way for him, because I love him. I mean, it's a well-known fact. I'm an Eddie Kingston mark, so yeah, there you go. Right then, we're going to the top 2. Aaron, do you want to take it away with your number 2, please, mate?
I'm going to take you to Japan. Again, this is actually in my top 10. I had to do a cheat say. It's 2 and 1. I've went Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi in the New Japan Cup and Wrestling Dontaku. I couldn't decide which one was better, boys. I hate to say.
So you just thought, I'll just pick two then. Don't worry. Don't worry about the rules. It's fine.
I'll just put the two of them in the same thing. It's fine.
I was gonna say, to be fair, they've had it's like 3 or 4 matches this year, and every single one's been incredible.
In the past 3 years, they came up and they were in the finals of the Best of Super Juniors. Then they went to the finals of the G1 together as well. That was this year. Like, they've constantly been at each other. They've been brought up to the heavyweight division together. They've been head to head constantly. And this year they had 2 absolutely banging matches. One for the New Japan Cup and one was for the world title. So, like, what can I say? And every time they have a match, it's at least 25 minutes long. And it's always fast paced. Osprey doing Osprey things, Shingo being a powerhouse, and it's just ridiculous speed.
Shingo's never a fucking Super Junior, is he?
No, he was never 200 pounds or 100 kilograms or whatever the weight limit is.
He was born a heavyweight.
He was born a heavyweight. The two of them together, it's ridiculous chemistry. I'm surprised like it doesn't go stale every time they have a match. They always find some way to make it amazing, but just be as brilliant as they've always been against each other. I think it's my favourite, like, 2 to go after each other every time I see them on a card. Like, it's the match that I go, oh, here we go again. Let's go. Like, if you've ever watched any, like, the 4 big matches in the past 2 or 3 years that they've had, they're always fantastic. So, and these 2 solidified it this year, going in the New Japan Cup and for the world title. So it just shows you New Japan have got so much investment in these 2 as well. Like, it's not all about Okada and Tanahashi anymore, even though it probably will be in January, but it's fine. They're trying. What?
I was going to say, I think it's going to be probably more about Okada and Shingo next year. They seem to be like really pushing Shingo as like the next guy to fill that like sort of spot. This
year it's ridiculous. Like, I'm scared for Wrestle Kingdom. Like, the 2 main events are going to be ridiculous. Whoever wins the first one as well.
I'm very excited for Okada and Shingo.
Oh,
that's going to be so stiff.
Oh. You could tell I've just like came myself a little bit just talking about it.
Sad Shingo noises.
Sad Shingo noises. One rainmaker and all that, you know.
Just one.
It's going to take at least 4 to put Shingo away.
But yeah, go watch either of their matches this year and from the previous years as well. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, agreed.
Fair. Sound, your number 2 then, Jay?
This is one that I know for a fact a load of people won't have seen, and that should change because it's a fucking awesome match. And that was A-Kid versus Jordan Devlin in an Iron Man match on NXT UK.
I did see this match.
You did see this match because you reviewed it with me, and you can attest it was very good.
Oh, it was fucking excellent.
So literally it was a 30-minute Iron Man match, and the first like 20 minutes there wasn't a single fall, and then the last 10 minutes there was 3.
Yeah, it was remarkably restrained for an Iron Man match, like in terms of.
And it was very like, so a bit of backstory to it was that Jordan Devlin basically injured A-Kid's knee by doing a horrible thing to it, like bending it the wrong way. It was scatty as fuck. Made me do a little sick in my mouth when I saw it. And then that, like, this was kind of like the revenge of A-Kid basically. Devlin goes 1-up with, as I say, about 15 minutes to go, maybe 10 minutes left to go. And then it's literally the rest of the match is just A-Kid trying to like claw it back. I think with 5 minutes to go, he equals it. And then like literally right near the end, he gets Devlin to tap out. And then it's just for the last like 2 minutes, Devlin trying to level it to get it to sudden death. And I think, isn't he just about to pin A-Kid at the end?
There's something like a time thing that you put in a submission or something. Or I mean, he
yeah.
does.
Oh, he's got him in a cloverleaf, and A-Kid just holds on.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like the last 90 seconds are like legitimately uncomfortable.
Yeah. And this match as well, it was a 30-minute Ironman match. It didn't feel like 30 minutes at all. It literally flew by. It was such a good match.
When they said you had like 5 minutes left, you're like, wait, what? It's been like 10 minutes. What's going on?
Yeah. A genuinely, really, really entertaining match. It was on the 5th of August for anyone who wants to go and hunt this match down. I would strongly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. So I had in this spot Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page at Winter is Coming, which obviously we've talked about. Just looking through all my anything you want to talk about. Fuck it. We talked about it briefly before, but I'm going to talk then about one of my honorable mentions. And again, this one sneaking in at the death, just as the door slams shut. This is Anna Jay and Ty Conti versus the Bunny and Penelope Ford in the street fight. What a hell of a match this was! Sort of came out of nowhere. I mean, yeah,
this is awesome.
You've got Ali, like piss and blood everywhere. You've got Penelope Ford, knee and Ty Conti in the face on a table. You've got table spots. You've got chairs. I mean, the match starts with Penelope with Anna Jay just braining the Bunny with a set of brass knuckles, and just sort of carries on from there.
Yeah, that's generally how it starts: brass knuckles and then blood and everywhere.
Then Ali just bleeds everywhere for like the next 15 minutes. At one point, like there's like they have their like table with like the bunny symbol on, like you can tell it's a spooky table. It's black and it's got all like graffiti on, and that's in a corner. And like Ali like slams Anna Jay through it, but like her blood, she has that much blood on her blood like literally is splattered off her face and it's all over the table.
Yeah,
it's insane. There's like Ty Conti hits a pile driver through a table on the outside.
Yeah,
it's like what more can you say? The finish is Anna Jay locks in the Queen Slayer. Earlier in the match, she puts the Queen Slayer on Ali, and then she just runs backwards into the table, and the force of that makes the blood from her head go all over the table.
Yeah, that's how much blood is all over her face right now. Yeah,
yeah, and then the finish is Anna Jay locks the Queen Slayer with barbed wire, throwback to John Moxley against Eddie Kingston.
And you totally didn't even talk about the tacks in the match either.
Yeah, there's a superplex on the thumbtacks. Yeah, I mean, go and watch it. It's hilarious. It's good fun.
It's ridiculous for a Rampage match, a women's tag match as well.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was excellent. Yeah, give it a crack. It was really, really good fun. And that's another one of my honorable mentions. Aaron, your final one.
You want to go through honorable mentions? Then we'll all do on number one.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing two of us at least have the same number one. Though. That's
I won't.
Aaron, do you want to do your number one? Then we'll do honorable mentions. Then me and Jay will talk about our number one, which I think is the same match.
I've got one other honorable mention, which is in GCW, which I assume you don't have. So my one honorable mention I've got left is John Moxley versus Nick Gage at Fight Club.
That was a good match.
Brilliant match. The match had been set up 6 months beforehand. They constantly just build up this match without even Moxley being in the arena at GCW and any of their shows. And then all of a sudden he randomly appears after Nick Gage gets the title back from Cardona. Yep. 6 months later. John Moxley helped elevate GCW even though he was rarely there.
Who'd have thought like GCW would book one of the better long-term storylines of the entire year in wrestling? Like the Nick Gage, John Moxley saga, and like the other wrestlers that sucked in like Cardona and Ricochet and Page. It's just been like, it's just been such. I mean, even as like a guy who doesn't watch any GCW, I've been following it on social media and I've had a really good time keeping up with it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and even the match itself lived up to expectation. It was fantastic. It was great.
I'm gonna just pitch this now while it's fresh in my mind. We're doing a watch along for Hammerstein, aren't we?
Yes, because it's meant to be Homicide versus John Moxley.
Yeah.
So
this might be Moxley's first match back.
That's what they've been. They've not said it outright.
Human about that.
Yeah, they've not said it outright, but that's what.
Unless Mox comes like the Babadook and attacks Hangman after it.
I mean, that's the most Moxie thing in the world, isn't it? Like, what's your big match back going to be? AEW pay-per-view world title match against Hangman Page? I'm going to do some mad shit in GCW.
At the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah, at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Me and Homicide are going to kill it.
Yeah.
It's mad because the last time we saw Homicide and Moxie in the same ring, they were on the same side in AEW.
Yeah, there you go. Moxley's helped GCW this year, even though he's been rarely there. It's
He wore a GCW hoodie on an AEW pay-per-view.
On AEW, yeah. That's how much
that was
seems to love
the match with Kojima, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
He seems to love GCW, which is fair play to him. If I get to see more John Moxley in GCW this year, I'll be happy. Because every match he's had, they've been ridiculous. As I said, I've already named, 2 of them in this list so far?
Yeah.
In GCW, so there you go.
From reading Moxley's book, which you're on the show, which is excellent, you really get the impression that he just wrestles for the fuck of it because he loves it.
Yeah.
A lot of wrestlers say like, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Like, but Moxley's the type of guy. It doesn't matter where he's doing it, whether it's in front of 10,000 people in AEW, whether it's in front of 150 people in a bingo hall. He just wants to wrestle.
Yeah,
I think that with Mox is that like he's got like with GCW, he's got the outlet to do like all the deathmatch stuff he wants, which
he's got that itch back for deathmatch,
which he's allowed to do occasionally in AEW, but not often.
Yeah.
Whereas
he can kind of like meet the quota for it, if you will.
Yeah, he's got way more power. He's like the Hulk Hogan in GCW where he goes, "Brother, I want a death match. Give me it." But yes, as the big standout rivalry from GCW this year has been fantastic. Fair play to GCW for giving us it.
So this was your match of the year, was it? This was your number one?
No, that was just honourable.
Oh, that's honourable mention. Okay, fair enough. Fuck me. All right, then what's your number one then, mate?
My number one is GCW Tournament Survival 6 final. Atticus Cogar versus Alex Colon. Very, very ridiculous death match. Alex Colon, a legend in the game. Atticus Cogar, the other pillar to Jordan Oliver in GCW this year. He came up as Ricky Shane Page's protege. He's now stepping up to the plate, being the guy. Oh, it's fantastic to see him be a cunt with his skewer sticks. You love to see it. This is both men's third match of the night, death match of the night.
Jesus, yeah,
it's grotty, it's beautiful. Oh, you love to see it. Even though Atticus Cogar doesn't win, Alex Colon puts him over like mad. The crowd absolutely love to hate Atticus Cogar. I love to hate him. Even though he was in a number one contendership rumble last night and everyone cheered when he came out before they decided to say fuck you Atticus constantly. The match is fantastic. It's death match through and through. A legend in the game versus an up and comer. Third match of the night for both of them. Fantastic.
Sound, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I think my New Year's resolution this year it's going to have to be to watch more GCW.
There is a few stinking shows, as you've seen on our Discord.
Yeah, but you know, I've made I watched TNA for like fucking 9 years. I can live with that.
Yeah.
Most of them tend to be.
I've lived in the desert, mate. Don't worry about it.
I'm looking forward to the Hammerstein show.
Yeah. I'll make that. I think I'll make that my first and like come in short.
Strong. Have they announced who Jonathan Gresham's defending against you on that?
Blake Christian.
Oh fuck, that's gonna slap.
Yep.
Yeah, they haven't even announced Eddie Kingston's opponent yet.
Nope.
just that he's there.
He's just gonna fight like just the concept of wrestling.
I've got a feeling we might get Effie versus Jeff Jarrett as well.
Effie v Jeffy.
Effie v Jeffy.
Who knew we would get that in 2022?
A wild slap nuts appears.
Oh,
right. So before me and Jay almost invariably pick the same match for our number one, we'll run through some honorable mentions. Jay, have you got any that you've not talked about yet that you'd like to throw in there?
Yeah, I've actually got 5. A few were from like my earlier in the year stuff. So like Riddle versus Xavier Woods from an episode of Raw, which was just like the closest we'll ever get to a PWG style match in Raw. Xavier Woods hit a Death Valley driver on the apron. I was like, what the fuck's going on? And I think this was the first time where everyone was kind of like getting into the hype of Xavier Woods, where it was like, oh yeah, he's really fucking good. They just don't do much with him. And obviously now he's like
being a tag team wrestler.
yeah, now he's obviously the king, and he's seemingly going to be going into a feud with the tribal chief himself for like the early part of this year. Just don't give him the belt so Brock can eat him. And yeah, so that was one. The other one from earlier in the year was the WrestleMania Night 2 main event, Roman versus Edge versus Bryan. It was just a really fun triple threat match. That spot where like Edge has got Roman in the crossface with like the bar from the steel chair across his mouth, and Bryan comes in and adds a label lock on, and him and Edge are like elbowing each other at the same time as holding the hold. It's a really cool spot. And it was just a really fun match in general. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match, just because it was one of the most mental ones they've had. Big E, Drew McIntyre, John Morrison, Kevin Owens, Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, Matt Riddle, and Seth Rollins. It was really fun. And Big E won, which was like a plus.
Again, just assume he had a really well booked and excellent long title reign. Don't Google it.
Don't worry about it. Go to AEW now. From Full Gear, Jurassic Express versus the Super Click in a Full Count Anywhere match. This was really fun.
It's just on the pay-per-view.
Did you say Jurassic Express versus Young Bucks or Super Click? No, did you just call all three of them Jurassic Express?
I mean, they're on a t-shirt, mate, the Christmas t-shirt.
There's
I'm not
three
loving
members
it.
of Jurassic Express. There's Christy and Cage.
I'm not getting into this argument.
Jungle Boy.
There has only ever been three members of Jurassic Express, and they are Christy and Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus.
Oh, no.
But yeah, it was a really cool match with some awesome spots.
As much as I have a disdain for Christian, the match was fucking fantastic.
The thing with Christian is, like, when every pay-per-view match he's had's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he had the match with Kenny as well, which was banging. And he had this.
And this was also the moment when Jungle Boy became Jungle Man.
It was. He hit the concerto on Matt Jackson.
After Luchasaurus had thrown everybody else off the ramp and then jumped on them.
Didn't Christian and Nick Jackson fight in a lift at one point as well?
Yep. Yeah, we didn't see that until being
it was on BTE the next week.
Yeah, they showed the deleted scene on BTE.
And they showed like Brandon Cutler in the lift just screaming whilst like, the whole thing was happening.
Stop hitting each other. And the last one on my honourable mentions was Pretty Deadly versus Mustache Mountain from August the 19th episode of NXT UK. This wasn't the one where Mustache Mountain won the tag titles. It was the first one. Just Pretty Deadly being absolute bastards to.
This was the better one because Pretty Deadly won.
Yeah, because I feel like I was saying this to Troy. I didn't really like the ending of the last one because it was just Trent Seven kicking out of everything, and it was like, oh fucking hell, here we go. Whereas the first one was literally Pretty Deadly, just being horrible shit to Trent Seven. The way they won the match as well was that they made it look like Trent had thrown the towel in when actually it was Lewis Howley. It was just a really clever kind of like callback to the Mustache Mountain Undisputed Era match where they lost the tag titles.
Fair, yeah.
And yeah, there was just a lot of shit house really. You love to see it.
Okay, real quick, I'll run through a couple of mine. Again, I think pretty much all of these are AEW. I think one I mentioned. Jungle Boy versus Dax Harwood on Dynamite on January 27th. I feel like we're going to look back on this match in about 5 years. It's been one of the most important matches in AEW history in terms of it establishing Jungle Boy as a top guy.
Yeah, sure.
I loved what me and Jay talked about, which is actually one of my favorite things we did last year, Jay, was our reviews of the AEW Women's Tournament.
Yeah.
And the sort of bonus match they gave us, which was Hikaru Shida, Mei Suruga, and Hikaru Kuda versus Emi Sakura, Veni, and Mahito. That was like the sort of mad sort of 6-woman tag match they did just for the fuck of it, and it was really, really fun.
Oh, it was really good.
Yeah. Speaking of people bubbling blood out of their heads, SCU versus the Young Bucks, AEW Dynamite May the 12th. That's the match where they pretty much retired Christopher Daniels.
Yeah.
Bonus points as well for the excellent promo Daniels cut at the next week's PTA at the start.
Black Eye.
Yeah. That was excellent. Lance Archer, Moxley, and Kenta versus. Sorry, Lance Archer and John Moxley versus Kenta and Kenny Omega, AEW Dynamite February 10th, because Kenta turned up in AEW and all he did was hit people with potatoes.
I legit forgot about this match.
It was a proper old school WWF hardcore match where they fought into like various rooms of the building and like used props to batter each other with. It was.
I remember them fighting in the kitchen. Yeah, and Lance Archer throwing a bag of potatoes at Kenta.
Yeah, it was great. Kenta didn't come all the way to. Kenta didn't die for that. Darby Allin versus Miro on May the 12th when Miro beat him for the TNT title. Just for one of my favorite spots of the entire year was Darby like propped up on like the bottom rope, like broken, and like looking at Sting on the outside and just like putting his fist out for Sting to fist bump him. And like Sting, like with the look on Sting's face, just said, "I know you're fucked here. You're dead. You can't win this." And Sting just like out of sheer solidarity, just fist bumps Darby and then like lets Miro murder him. So, like, and then Miro just puts him down and it's like, all right, okay, that's fine. Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. March 24th episode of Dynamite. Anytime Laredo Kid is around, we're having a good time, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Let's face it. Blood and Guts. Again, I know some people wanted to see Chris Jericho land on a concrete floor and got really sad they didn't. But the match itself was excellent. FTR did some of their best AEW work in this match, and Wardlow got to just be an absolute hot monster for like most of it as well, which was great.
Stupid, sexy Wardlow.
The only Bryan Danielson match I think we haven't covered is Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson from AEW Rampage, 29th September, which was probably, when I say it's the worst match he's had in AEW, that's still like an 8.5.
Yeah. Nick Jackson, when he gets a singles match, seems to be still very, very good.
He's getting ready for Matt to retire, isn't he? Matt said he's not got long left. Nick's
warming up for that singles run. Bully Nick.
Billy Nick.
Do you have any more here? I've covered all those. Stadium Stampede 2, not as good as Stadium Stampede 1. Didn't quite have the sort of heady escapism that Stadium Stampede 1 had, but it did have that really awesome bit where Jericho and MJF came out and fought in front of the live crowd, and then they went back into the video, which was pretty fucking cool. It was like something that you'd see at like a theme park. It was awesome. So I really enjoyed that. That was fun. MJF versus Sammy Guevara, AEW Dynamite, June 30th. I can't remember much about that, to be fair, but I remember it being really good. Was that the one that was just after? Oh, I mean, are we allowed to talk about this? Was that the one just after he proposed to his fiancée?
What about it? What fiancée?
Exactly. Don't worry about it. Then we had Ray Phoenix and Pac versus the Young Bucks. We talked about this very briefly earlier on. AEW Dynamite, April 14th. That was the one that came after they won the Battle Royal. It was excellent. One of my personal favorite little mini storylines of 2021 was the saga between Ty Conti and Nyla Rose, and Ty trying to get the win over Nyla to sort of like prove to everyone, most to herself, that she could beat an opponent of that caliber. And on March 24th on Dynamite, she finally did. She got the win over Nyla after like at the third attempt or something, which it was a really cool match. And it felt like the moment that Ty Conti like announced herself as like a main player on the women's roster.
Yeah.
And my last one, and I think this was a bit of a sleeper match. Hangman Adam Page versus Brian Cage, AEW Double or Nothing. It was the first match, the opener. It was the first match in front of a live crowd. And it was one of those matches. Every now and then, because I've said this a lot of times, you sort of take them for granted. But every now and then, you just sort of rub your eyes and go, "Oh shit, yeah, Adam Page is a really good wrestler." Like he can do a bit of everything. Like he can do Ari Horror Moonsaults. Don't Google it, off the top rope. He can do brawling. He can do power stuff. He can do fallaway slams.
The fact he did one of them in Ring of Honor with his hands gaffer taped together is fucking mental.
So yeah, this was a match that sort of got, because it was immediately followed by one of my picks, which was Eddie Kingston, John Moxley versus the Young Bucks. But that match did so much heavy lifting in terms of firing up the crowd for the rest of the show. If that match had come out and been a dud, the crowd would have just been fucked. But because it came out and Hangman just, and Cage, to give him his credit, because they put it all out there, it really did fire the crowd up for the rest of the show, which was excellent. Right. Shall we talk about what is, to most people, no surprise to most people, but both mine and Jay's match of the year, our number one?
Again, it probably would have been mine, but I tried to stay clear of AEW, knowing Tasty's whole list would be AEW. And as I said, the one I had in my top 10, Tasty had it before me.
I've just remembered your reaction.
So yeah, we are going to talk about, no surprises, the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks in a steel cage match at AEW All Out.
Yes,
I mean,
you can't argue with it. I remember
Absolutely.
being at the bar in Glasgow, like just waiting to order my drink, but also staring at the TV. And then people asking me, "What do you want to drink?" Hold on, look at the TV.
The fact that there was so many like callbacks to stuff they've done in other companies as well.
Yeah.
Like the Bucks bringing back the shoe with the fucking thumbtacks on the which they previously used in PWG. There was just mad cage spots that like Lucha Brothers have done before in AAA, but it was like all culminating in this one match on like this really big stage, like All Out is seemingly AEW's version of WrestleMania, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah.
And that show did not disappoint you. Probably
from like the Lucha Bros entrance with Ruckus coming out and doing it live, all the way through to Penta hugging his kids at the end. It was just a surreal.
He wanted to hug them. He was pissing blood all over them.
He was trying to hug the kids. His kids are fucking terrified because the dad's just like bleeding everywhere, and he doesn't look anything like the dad because he's wearing his gear and everything. And yeah, it was just like. Do you know how many cage matches there's been in AEW? Two. This one and Wardlow
Cody and Wardlow, yeah.
So that's madness. Like this is the only cage match AEW did in this entire calendar year.
With the exception of Blood and Guts, obviously.
Yeah. That's a different match, though. Yeah.
Don't worry about it, mate.
Don't worry about it. It's in a cage, though, isn't it?
It's more of a cell.
Cage with a roof.
It's War Games. Sorry, not allowed to call it War Games.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they announced this would be a cage match, everyone just went, "Well, Phoenix is going to jump off that, isn't he?" And yeah,
I saw like a video on YouTube. I think it was Parts Unknown that did it, and Adam Blampier said that in 2019 the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks had the best ladder match of all time, and then in 2021 they had the best cage match of all time.
Yeah,
and it's like, what are they going to do in 2023?
Just wait till next year when they revitalize the Punjabi prison.
What was that one? It was like so defeated.
Can even the Bucks and the Lucha Bros give us a good Punjabi prison match? Let's find out.
They'll do the best ever something on a pole match.
Oh, Brandon
all
Cutler
the
on
Vince
a pole.
McMahon bullshit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the match itself was excellent. Like, there was a lot of like the Young Bucks just using shithousery to stay on top, and it was almost getting to a point where like you didn't think it was just going to happen for the Lucha Bros. Like every time they tried something, they got cut off, and like the Bucks like did some fuckery. But then eventually Phoenix just like went, "You know what? No, wait, I'm just too fucking good. So here you go." And he got out from under them, and yeah, there was some madness. There was a fucking Jordan with tacks on. There was like everyone got super kicked, everyone bladed, everyone had blood all over them. Like people
and to hit a top rope destroyer on Matt Jackson.
Yeah, and that wasn't even like one of the big points of the match.
Yeah,
no, that's one that people don't really talk about.
Yeah, it was just two tag teams at the top of their powers, just coming together as like a force of nature.
I think the thing that's so good about like the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers feud in AEW is that they can literally like be apart for like the better part of like 18 months and come back and it still feels like it's an intense feud.
Yeah,
and it's so hard.
They've got that history.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like obviously, like the Young Bucks have had like loads of run-ins with Death Triangle this year anyway, but it's never been the Lucha Bros. It's been Pac and Phoenix or Pac and Penta.
Yeah,
it's never been like the actual Lucha Bros. So it was quite fitting that when Lucha Bros came up against the Bucks, they beat the Bucks. Yeah, I think it's a real art form to be able to, as I say, have a feud where you go away from each other and then you come back and it's still got the fire, it's still got the magic of the feud.
Yeah, absolutely.
These guys have it in spades. And yeah, as I say, in this day and age where it's people get distracted quite easily by stuff. It's not like back in like the early 90s when you had like Flair and Steamboat or Flair and Sting, and whenever they come together, everyone would go, oh, fuck, here we go. Like, you've just got to look at 10 years ago when we had Cena and Orton all the time, and everyone was just fucking fed up with it by the time like they wrestled each other. Or Kofi and Dolph. But yeah, these guys, every time they get in the ring together, they fucking bring it. And like it's hard to kind of choose between like a top like 2 tag teams, isn't it? Because these two are like 1 and 2, and each day it's going to be one's going to be 1, the other's going to be 2.
Yeah, it's one of them. Like you said, like there are certain feuds in wrestling that seem to go on forever, and like you get a bit fatigued by them, and you think, oh, not again. Like, I don't want to see MJF v Chris Jericho anymore, or anything like that. And then you say, oh, instantly, oh yeah, Young Bucks, Lucha Bros, and yep, okay, let's have it. What are they doing? Oh, it's going to be I don't know, wrestling on the back of a forklift truck as it speeds down a highway match. And all right, yeah, I'll give them a chance. Why not? They're going to make something good out of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like that's the thing. Next time we get Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers, and it's inevitable we will get it again in AEW, it's probably going to blow our fucking minds again, and probably be in the argument for matches again.
Yeah, it's excellent. So I think that's on that bombshell, I think that's all she wrote for us for 2021. We'll slam the door shut. The clock's now ticking on 2022. We're going to start collecting our favourite matches of this year. And this time next year, we'll bring you our 2022 match of the year. Obviously, there's a lot of podcast content between now and then. But
we've got literally 3 things being recorded tonight.
Yeah.
For the podcast. So
keep it all on the podcast social media. Keep it on the Discord. Keep it all up to date. You won't miss a thing if you keep yourself subscribed to all of our bits and bobs. Have a lovely start of 2022, everybody. Take care. Enjoy all your wrestling, and we'll see you all very soon. Goodbye.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here. Danhausen has been summoned. You must love this podcast housing, the Untitled Wrestling Podcast housing.